And we're back, I guess. Welcome to the Smart to Noise Ratio Pro Audio Podcast. This is episode number 43, if you're counting. I'm your humble host, John Dayton, and joining me tonight on the comfy couch of Audio 11 is Anthony Kosobucki.
Hey there.
And I'm in a bit of a mood. It's late. I had a lot of extra running around to do tonight after work. Had to drop the kids off, come back out, and as soon as I got back on the road, I hit a deer. Awesome. So something...
John's up one on most of the people that I know that hunt.
Yeah, I'm there's that. Except that I'm not eating venison, unfortunately.
You could be. There's a lady at church, actually one of the guitar players' wives, she hires out her... I'm going to sound terribly dirty. Her jerky services. The guy, he's a fantastic guitar player. He's got this gorgeous handmade guitar from Ireland. It's an Avalon. They stopped making them, then they started making them again. But he's like, yeah, you just bring me a few steaks on a Sunday. You get them back next Friday.
Nice.
It's like, the only problem is you spend $30 on a steak and you get like half a pound jerky. If you're lucky.
Unless you hit a deer on the side of the road. The thing is, I just bumped her. She didn't even slow down. So no venison for me.
Sounds like college to me.
And believe me, I'm not above whacking a deer with my car. Not on purpose, but if I do tag one and it's laying there, I'm eating me some venison. I'm going to send her to meet her maker, polish her off, toss her in the back. I got a buddy that'll dress her for me. But, you city kids, if you don't know this, if you're ever out driving in the country...
You're going to say drinking in the country, which pretty much is driving in the country, right?
If you're ever out driving in the country and you encounter some deer on the road, by all means, get on the brakes first, and then as soon as you've compensated for that, lay on the horn. People don't think of that. The deer in the headlights is a true story. Yeah. That happens. If you get on the horn, that kind of shocks them. My problem was I came over the crest of a hill. There's a deer in each lane, one looking like they were going to go each way. So I thought, all right, well, I'll just try and pick my way in between them. And then at the last second...
Split the spread.
Yeah, Miss Indecisive Pants decided she was going to join her buddy that was heading off in my direction. I tapped her in the butt going about 20. All it did was knock out a headlight, but I was immediately more pissed off than scared because I was going to negate every dollar that I made doing a side job on Friday.
Yes.
Which, actually, that leads, before we veer too far off topic, that leads me to our first topic. We're just going to kind of talk about what we're working on here, some lessons learned in the last week or two. Mine was, I got asked on Tuesday to spec a small rig for a really small community theater. The stage is no bigger than the living room I'm sitting in now. No, it's maybe 14 by 14 is the stage.
Oh, so if you include the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the stage is 14 by 14, and it's not all the way in the round, but there's seating units on three sides. So square stage, off of each side, there's an area of raised seating. The whole joint holds 99 patrons when they're sold out, and the director wants to use wireless microphones in there. Now, why would you want to do that when your stage is the size of my kitchen table and your whole theater is the size of my kitchen? Well, that would be because of the band that he insists on having sometimes. But no, they don't. It's not always that crazy in there. But they do, they do stuff. Sometimes they'll do shows to playback. Like you buy the rights to the show, you get the orchestral recording, by the original pit orchestra,
right.
And then you have the rights to do those songs, do a Broadway review or whatever. And then they do other, they do a murder mystery. They need a little playback. They need phones ringing and doorbells and things.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what they did. So they, the first time they asked me to come do sound for a show in there, I walked in. They were in the middle of the rehearsal. I set all my gear down in the lobby, which is the size of a coat closet. Looked around. Couldn't find any place to put my speakers, and I brought the littlest ones I had. Couldn't find any place to put my console, and it's just a little Allen and Heath 24 channel, much less my rack of outboard gear. So I told him he was nuts, and I packed my stuff back out. And he called me up later, and I loaned him 2 bookshelf speakers so he could use CD playback to get his 2 sound effects that he needed. So this has been going on for a couple of years, and he's had different guys come in. He had a son-in-law that was a DJ who would set up a couple pole speakers on stage at the back of the stage, and then they would try and run wireless microphones in that room.
That sounds like a plus.
So, yeah, this has been on my mind for a long time. I was like, I knew, I hadn't really plotted it out, but I knew in my head they were going to need something small, preferably self-powered, because, to do stereo to each seating area, that was going to take 6 channels of amp, or 2 channels of amp that would go down pretty low, or speakers with a high impedance so that they added up to be, more than 4. So anyway, they called me up, serious about it this time. All right, what do you need? Okay, well, we need a mixer that will handle 12 microphones plus CD plus iPod. We need 2 speakers per seating area. We need 1 more wireless mic. We need a CD player, and then we need whatever else you tell us we need. Okay, what's your budget? $1,200. Almost hung up on him. That's like the exact scenario we talked about. Like I made a joke about that. Like, oh yeah, we need this, that, this, and this. And in the back of your head while they're saying things, you're tallying it up. You're like, okay, that's about a $10,000 sound system. What's your budget? We have $150. Okay, thanks for calling. Lose my number. But they said no, $1,200 to $1,800. So I got on, and the good folks, the fine folks at Full Compass, took very good care of me. Just tallying the stuff up. Got the console, the mic, the CD player, got him a graphic EQ, and what else? Oh, a wireless, Shure entry-level wireless handheld, spool of cable, a couple other various and sundry things, connectors, and the whole thing tallied up to just a hair over $2,000. Called them up, and they were able to bump that down to just a touch over $1,800.
Nice,
not bad, and tax exempt because they're a little community theater, not-for-profit community group. And then, we went to Home Depot. We bought some extension cords because they're all powered speakers. So he was grousing a little bit about, having to buy all the copper. I was like, hey, you could have bought an amp, and that would have been 2/3 of your budget. But I got him a nice little Soundcraft desk. And now when you look up 12-channel mixers, you'll inevitably find like a bunch of Behringers and Yamahas that only have 4 mic inputs on them,
right? And
the rest of it's RCA and stereo channels and whatnot. So Soundcraft, fortunately, thankfully, sidetracks all that BS, and they give you a 12-channel console that has 12 microphone inputs on it. Lo and behold.
Real Soundcraft pre's?
Yeah.
Or are they like mostly Soundcraft?
Well, it's a baby Soundcraft, but it sounds better than any other $400 mixer you're going to pick up that has,
I'm sure,
that can take 12 mics and 2 stereo inputs. It actually had a pair of buses on it, so you can subgroup stuff. You can do your playback and stuff on one subgroup and your wireless mics on another one. Inserts on every channel. I didn't even look to see if there were inserts on the outputs, but sweet mid EQ, decent little console. And then for the speakers, I got him some Presonus Aris E5, which is a little self-powered studio monitor based on a 5-inch Kevlar cone, silk dome tweeter, 80 watts of power combined. And with 6 of those, I was able to make it really nice and loud in there, and didn't have to mangle the EQs to knock feedback out, which was amazing considering how reflective the room is and how close the speakers are to everything. So I think as long as they don't have actors actually walk up into the seating units with mics on, they'll probably be all right.
Yeah.
But got that all plugged in, wired up, and good to go. Pocketed a couple $100 for that.
Nice.
And then I hit a deer, and my headlight was $214. No, I found one on Amazon. A lot cheaper than that. Actually, probably cheaper than I could get from a picking parts place. So.
Yeah.
Saved me a trip out into the countryside to walk through a muddy junkyard and unbolt a headlight off of something.
Fight off the dogs.
So, actually, there wasn't too much to tell about that story. But, it just goes to one of the things we always talk about here. That's 1, versatility, 2, the ability to be creative. We run into guys once in a while that insist that
that one guy, he always has something bad to say about everything. Like, oh yeah, EAW's got new steerable line arrays. Yeah, they're probably crap. They just can't really, like, listen, man.
Made in Taiwan,
shut up. That's it. Like, that's really it. Like, that's fantastic that you run sound for 2 bands that you kind of know, and it sounds kind of okay, and you can't really handle your compression that well, and you complain about everything, so you just stop a little bit, get good at what you do, and then buy some nice gear, and then you can complain about stuff. But until you make things sound not like crap all the time, please just back off.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure it's not. Wasn't really totally thinking out of the box, but was able to come up with exactly what they needed, and even probably a little better. I mean, it could have been, you know, a Behringer Junko mixer and Behringer powered speakers that would have been big and required extra rigging and mounting. And man, I got these Boss little, I think they were on stage, but like for $6 a pair, $7 a pair, I got these little wall mount speaker.
Oh wow!
Stand. Yeah, so it's got a pivot and, you know, pan and tilt on it. And luckily for me, like there's a lot of concrete in the room, and you know, a bad stucco ceiling, and just, you know, the only thing that's really up there that you could hang something from is sprinkler pipes and gas lines that you're not really supposed to rig to. So,
yeah,
which their lighting guy has stuff hanging all over, and I'm not.
Don't want to make it hurt anymore.
That's somebody else. But yeah, I got these. Well, anyway, the seating units have a wall on either side of them, 2x4 wall. So screwed those right into the top stud. Tipped them down, tilted them in, made sure the sound wasn't spraying onto the stage too bad. Boom, done. And the really nice thing is, you know, they're junky. I forget what they were. They were about $150 a piece for these little monitors. They're not terrible, but they're not great either. Yeah. If you were going to buy them, I would say probably get the 8s. They just, you know, they're ported, but they have no budge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're using them for, like, you know, your typical college dorm room setup where you're making beats at your desk in your dorm, you know, possibly, like, these are totally free space. Like, maybe if you shoved them up against a wall or jammed them in corners,
you get some.
Yeah. Oh, it's cute though, because it has a mid EQ and a high EQ on the back, as well as a gain control, and then there's a low cut switch and a space compensation switch, which gives you 4 dB of roll off if you're using them in quarter space. Like, if they're jammed in the corner and the bass is just too much, you can attenuate that a little bit.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, anyway. It was funny. It came up on Reddit, like, as soon as I got home, there was a post like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting Aris E8s," and I was like, "Well, I can tell you the 5s have no bottom." So, but anyway, the cool thing is you know, it's not stratospheric. These are little D-class amps and whatever, so at least they don't get hot. They're pretty efficient. But having a Soundcraft, having a fairly nice console out in the front, I can run that a little bit hotter, run the speakers a little bit below Unity, so they're running quieter. The console can handle running a little hotter, little EQ here and there. Everything is just crystal clear.
Nice.
Yeah. And I don't have to run it, ever. That's somebody else's job.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, I'm going to write the manual for it after work on Sunday afternoon, and that's going to be that.
Nice.
So now, let's see what else we got here. We got mastering. We can talk about mastering a little bit.
Yeah.
I just recently started offering my services online, different places, floating things out in the actually not really floating things out in the forums, but just when somebody pops up like, "Hey, I made this song. I want somebody to, you know, see if you can master it." And so it's not paying anything. But my problem with mastering is I'm a little apprehensive about approaching bands or being approached by bands that want work done, you know, for serious release, when I don't really have a demo reel to play for them. You know, like, I can, like, you know, all right, well, you know, I'll do one for you for nothing, and you can see if you like it. That seems a little sketchy, even if I came on a good recommendation. So anyway, I've done a couple tracks. We talked about the first one I did, the dubstep track.
Yeah.
Last weekend, after, actually, did we podcast last week?
I think we did.
Yeah, we did. We finally got around to it. Yeah, I sat here on Anthony's couch and worked on a couple more tracks for a guy, and that was actually pretty cool. I wrote an article about it. That's going up. Did I go up today? I think it did. I did a bonus one because I missed a couple days earlier in the week. But it was just about the back and forth, and the epiphany I had wasn't about how, you know, I really had pretty good stuff to work on from this cat, and you know, I was able to take the first one, spruce it up, made him happy. He sent me another one, and with some work, which was interesting, you know, same guy, same type of song, but I had to do different stuff to it to make it sound like it belonged next to the other one on an album. And then he sent me a third one that just, I don't know, the kick drum was all wrong. So I sent it back to him. I was like, "Nope, do it again. Can't do anything with this." And he sent it back, and I was like, still work. Gonna give it a shot, send it back to him. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I wanted to talk about was getting the vibe. Like, the thing that made me feel like I hit it out of the park was he sent me this first track, and we really didn't talk. Like, no phone conversation, no text. I mean, just, you know, quick exchange in a forum, couple emails, here's the file, off you go. Yeah. And I knew I was up against, you know, a couple, 2-3 other engineers who were also working on his stuff. So anyway, I sent it to him. He sent me back an email raving about it. Loved it. You totally beat the other guys. And I, you know, in my little note said, yeah, you know, I just first listened to it and I caught the vibe like it was a, you know, nice cocktail party. Everybody's dressed up kind of nice, but not too formal. And the drinks are flowing, and everybody's having a great time, and the music's nice. Like that's what I was feeling. It was kind of hip hoppy, but there was this great Rhodes sound and acoustic guitar. So he sends back, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Sexy cocktail party. So, like right away, I caught that vibe from it. It just happened to be the exact vibe that he was giving off. And, so in mastering it, I mean, it turned into like, all right, what am I going to do with my compression? How am I going to treat the mids to make that Rhodes sparkle a little bit? How am I going to help the motion, the panning that he's done? It turned into all that technical stuff. But my overriding thought was, all right, how do I make the cufflinks platinum? How do I make the drinks top shelf? Yeah. How do I make the air just right and the lighting perfect? Like that, those were the feeling, I was figuring out how to tune up feelings, not like, oh yes, well, I set up the multi-band compressor and tried to preserve as many precious tone molecules as I could. That was all going on in one half of my brain, but it was just cool because he had something that was very distinct and definite that I forget which half of your brain's the creative half,
the right
brain, yeah. So the right hemisphere latched onto that and guided the left hemisphere instead of the left hemisphere just latching on. And here's
was it guided or beat into submission?
Shut up! Pass me that gin. Sit down. I'm working here. Work in the room. Shoot, it's too late. I'm losing my train of thought here. What was it? Dang it. I shouldn't have looked at you.
Something about gin.
I was going to plow through. No, before the gin.
Right hemisphere of the brain.
Yeah, and the tone molecules and the thing. Oh, I remember what it was. I was glad that I was just mastering this and not mixing it, because if he had sent me tracks, what he had created was it was a real hip hoppy feel. It was all about the kick and the percussion, and then buried in the mix was the Rhodes, the acoustic guitar, the vocal sample, a couple other just juicy little things. And I would have heard those on an all faders up mix and just gone to town working on those and having them be kind of even with the drums and balancing it out. And when I first heard it, I was thinking, man, I got to send this back to him and get him to remix it. And so as I went through on a couple of passes, like, all right, well, I'm not going to be able to remix it and bring the Rhodes and bring the acoustic guitar up, but let me just put a little extra warmth on the Rhodes, a little extra shimmer on the acoustic guitar, and that made him peak out just enough. And then I was starting to feel it, like you'll see by the time this will be third week in April 2013. If you're listening to this far in the future, there's an article about this project that I wrote. Doggone it, trying to think of the date, and everything else fell out of my mind.
Today's the 20th.
Thanks.
That's why you can't remember. It's 4/20.
April 20th.
Earth Day.
Not in many years. Shucks. Oh, well, anyway, the feel of it was it was definitely hip hop, but, had this classy element to it. And so, like, it's not hip hop aimed at the cats driving tuners, sitting on dubs. This is music aimed at people, with careers, with nice cars, maybe, or who aspire to that.
Right.
And, probably they still got a Wu-Tang shirt. There's probably a Method Man CD in the console.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to mess with.
Dude, I was watching Coachella on YouTube the other night. I was just about to go to bed. I thought, I'm going to see if I can find that new Rob Zombie video. And so I did, and it's awesome, by the way. Dead City Radio. I haven't heard Hammond organ in a rock and roll song in I don't know how long. It was
new Daft Punk single came out.
Did it suck?
No.
That was awesome.
It's pretty neat. It's not as interesting as the last few albums, but it's only one song.
She don't listen to much Daft Punk. I'm gonna have to check it out. So anyway, up in the top portion of YouTube says, live from Coachella, the Chili Peppers close out the main stage. So I was like, okay.
You know who's driving that.
Yeah. Dave Rat on Dave Rat's stuff.
Yep.
Baby.
Mixing Dave Rat's band.
So I click on it, and it hadn't quite started yet. So that channel of the three that they had available was the Wu-Tang shutting it down on another stage, and they were playing like one of the two Wu-Tang songs that I know. They were doing Gravel Pit, and I was like, holy crap, I even know the words to this one. So I'm bebopping along out of my shop.
Yes, bebopping is exactly what you do to Wu-Tang. that goes right hand in hand with
if you're
Wu-Tang.
a white hick from Western New York.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. Like all my headbanging friends were totally into Wu-Tang years ago. So like I tend to be in the more like Metallica, White Zombie crowd, but there were definitely some tapes floating around that had Pork Soda on one side and 36 Chambers of Death on the other side. A little sip. So yeah, that's another exciting thing is to leave mastering behind and move on. Maybe we'll come back to it. You never know with this show.
Yeah.
Especially at this late hour. But all of the major American festivals are now streamed live to YouTube, and they did a phenomenal job of it last summer. I watched the Peppers close down Bonnaroo last year, and it was sitting late at night at work. Had a pair of decent studio monitors on my desk, plugged them into the laptop quick, got them tuned up, and I was just sitting there rolling in it. And it didn't drop out. It might have locked up once, so like the bandwidth they're putting behind it is great. The mixes sound phenomenal, which is usually you think, okay, TV mix, it's going to be cruddy, but it was fantastic. And then it was the following night. I watched. What did I see? I think I watched Fish for about 20 minutes, and then I flipped over to Alice Cooper on one of the smaller stages, and I was just listening to my cans on the couch at home, and that sounded great. Like, couldn't believe it. Even the smaller stages. Alice Cooper was a wreck, but his band was pretty good. That's where I found
Alice
out about
Cooper's been a wreck since like 88.
Oh, it's just since forever. I mean, you've seen the footage from the 70s. Tossing around a dead chicken on stage, skeleton and spandex.
Well, when you got nothing else, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, kids, watch out for that. All the major festivals are going to be on YouTube this summer. The Coachella week. Well, actually, Coachella's coming up again. Aren't there?
I have no idea.
It's 2 weekends, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Or am I thinking of a different? I might be thinking of a different show. But anyway, I was thinking it was 2 weekends because on Dave Ratt's page on Facebook, he was showing that they had parked all the rigs and they were just starting to fly the grids out again for all the stages. So they drop them down during the week. So there might be some more Coachella goodness on YouTube, which with the time delay, I might actually be able to catch the headliner again. But do watch out for that. Get yourself a decent pair of speakers to listen on, or a decent pair of cans. Get on YouTube, and Coachella had three channels available this time.
Awesome.
When I looked at Bonnaroo, it was you had whoever was on the main stage was on channel A, and then selected B stages. If
whoever's biggest.
So like if Skrillex was in the dance tent, you got Skrillex. If Alice Cooper was on the monster stage or whatever, you got that. So pretty sweet. I don't know if Warp's doing that. That might be a little too hectic.
Yeah, every other day for 4 months.
I didn't know if they try and do one or something like that.
I don't know. I don't think they do.
But there's that.
There's 7 stages too. They've got.
Want to dip back into mastering?
Sure.
Cool. We were just talking about it a little bit in the parking lot, and the phrase, it always comes up when you're talking about mastering. You can't polish a turd. And that's nobody take this personal. If you're listening, I'm working on your stuff. I'm not talking about your stuff. But
talking about stuff I'm working on.
Which I'm about to be working on too.
Right, yeah.
It's the challenge is it's almost a relief, like when something comes in and it's just junk, because it's way easier to turn a 3 into a 7 than it is to turn an 8 into a 9 or a 9 into a 10. It becomes when you get something really good that you have to work on, it's like, all right,
you should master Joe's stuff.
Okay, done. Transfer it down to 44 to 16. Finished.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, there's a mastered stamp on it.
I added half a dB, and that was all we had to do. But that's
pretty much. That's
a crucial thing, is deciding what not to touch. I mean, you don't go in there and just EQ the piss out of it just so you can
say you mastered it.
Like, you're not getting paid by the increment there on those knobs,
right?
You're getting paid by how it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, what I was talking about in particular, Brandon, one of the Brandons that's been on the show, he's like, well, you can only polish a turd so much, and I was talking to him about editing some drums, and like I've been fortunate enough to not really need to use Beat Detective a whole lot.
That's real fortunate.
In the last couple of years, like I've been able to go in and manually shift some stuff, because there are ways to use Beat Detective to not suck the life out of everything and not make it, totally, for lack of better terms, just 100% flaccid. Like, there's stuff you can do and everything, but if you record a band live, everybody's playing off each other, so you need to run Beat Detective on everything. And then, like, so once you're like 25 or 26 tracks deep, running Beat Detective just gets a little bit hairy, and then it gets real messy with chording and all kinds of stuff. But, I mean, spent, I don't know, probably about 3 hours, which is more time than I probably should have used, but just got everything pretty close, except for one fill that just did not want to lock in, and it's pretty much there right now. But I think I started this at like 8 o'clock tonight, and it's 1 in the morning now, so 4 hours in, and I've still got a couple of hits that aren't quite there, at least not to where I'm happy with them.
Well, at that point, you just touch them by hand, right?
Yeah, no, I did that too, and they're just not, I don't know, there's just a couple things that are just not sitting right, and I think what it might have to do more with is the intensity of how they're played. Like, they're just, you know, toms weren't hit hard enough to make the transients stick out quite enough to be able to grasp just those and shift them and everything without grabbing kick drum stuff and hi-hat things and all kinds of garbage like that. But, yeah, I mean, you can only... Beat Detective is not Sherlock Holmes. It's not.
There's the quote of the day, kids.
Yeah, like... It's great. It really does fix a lot of problems, but at the same time, you can, if you don't actually know what you're doing, which I really don't know what I'm doing with Beat Detective a whole lot, but you can get yourself in a whole bigger mess of problems with it than you can fix. So I guess what it comes down to is having a really good product to start out with, or at least a good, solid product, and everyone knows what they're doing. That goes a far way.
Yeah, the better the musicians are, the easier life gets.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best drummers I've ever met, they're like, hey man, whatever you got to Beat Detective me, fine, do it, make it better. Like, no, because you would break Beat Detective. That's what would happen. It'd be like, nope, I'm done here. And just for trying to turn me on, I'm not going to work for the next 2 weeks. That's your fault.
That's the same way it goes mixing lives. You know, you get a band on stage that just, they got all their stuff dialed in. They play super tight. They know how to ask for what they need in the monitors. And you get all the
halfway through the
compliments.
show, the humidity increases by like 60%. Yeah. You're like, damn.
Yeah, people will come around and thank you at the end of the night. And, like, those are the nights that you barely do anything. And then other nights when the band's terrible and their gear sucks, you like mixing your butt off and everybody blames you for it sounding bad. So that's the other side of that coin.
Yeah.
Well, what else are you working on?
I got another song dropped on me today that I have to have done by next week. Or no, a week and a half from now.
So let's explain it a little bit, because I'm only vaguely familiar with this. At Anth's church, now at my church,
people plan and they use calendars and they talk about what they're going to do.
Right. So, like, my boss has been writing songs. Everybody's known this forever. Mm-hmm. Other people have been collaborating with them. We've been talking and planning about going in the studio forever. And then at Anth's church, people just decide they need a song. Like, oh, by the way, we're contributing a song to a movie project. It's Tuesday. We're going to need this Thursday.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Well, the nice thing about winter is that I don't have to go out and mow the lawn, too. So I found out today that we're doing a musical or something like that. I don't want to call it a musical because I'm not sure it's quite there. But, got one song, finally got people to come in and start tracking it, and like, oh, great. Well, we're going to have a dress rehearsal this Saturday. Uh-huh. Well, the song's going to be done by then, right? No, the song's not, fine. The song will be kind of done by then. Like, well, we need definitely the next Saturday after that, because the dress rehearsal, we're going to have like 60 kids here, we need to sing with it and all. Like, I can get my part done, but you guys, I can't do the vocals without the people that are actually singing it, all that kind of stuff. So found out again today. Well, came home, my wife was ripping wallpaper out of her room in frustration, which it did need to come down, which is good. She wasn't just ripping it down just because she was mad. She's like, I got to record another jingle, I got to do like all this stuff, and like things at my place happen a lot more last minute. Which I guess it's fine. I mean, it's my job. It's what I sign up for. I'm not not really complaining about it. Sometimes it would be nice to have a little bit more heads up, or people to, tell me what they think they've told me. But yeah, it's interesting. So I get to work a lot from home.
Nice.
And not get paid for it.
Hey, how's the stuff coming at your band's project?
It was good until two weeks ago, and everything just kind of came to a halt. Like, the singer got sick, and it was our last session. We were getting everything done, start doing overdubs and stuff. And
let's bring everybody up to speed. To update, we watched Sound City, and then immediately the guys decided to get an analog console and use Pro Tools as a tape machine and retrack everything as live as possible, and just bust it out, and like, no more of this messing around for a year. We're gonna do this in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that was a couple weeks ago.
That was a couple months ago. Because, I mean, the only day that we really had open was Sundays, and half of us work at churches. So trying to get everybody in, like, okay, cool, after morning service is done, everybody shows up at Anth's place, plug in, go for 4 hours, because I have a night service, and I need to set everything up, and then I need to go and play for the night service. So my amp that I dragged upstairs, the drums or parts of drum, whatever, need to go back downstairs and get everything mic'd back up for the night service. So it was good. Like, we got 7 songs done in one weekend. Like, slammed through on a Saturday, got 3 songs done on a Sunday, got 4 songs done. Like, we're definitely going to go back and overdub guitars, but what we really wanted were the drums and the bass live. Because that's, our bass player is great live. He doesn't feel it in the studio as much, which is a common problem from what I've heard. But stuff went pretty good. And I was actually just about ready to start packing up all of John's stuff and give it back to him. And then the singer,
shut up. You were not either.
I was. No, I don't want, I could regain like
my console
20
that I
square
loaned
feet of my office.
That
damn thing out of here. Yeah, no, I actually told Amanda, I was like, I'm super happy I'm getting this half of my office back. I can finally get back into the cabinet that I need to get all the batteries out of without having to move a 40-channel console out into another room to dig around and look for stuff.
I'll just go buy more batteries. You got a Soundcraft in your office. There's nothing to worry about in life.
I don't know, Sunday morning services don't happen because that jerk has a Soundcraft in his office but didn't buy batteries, then there's a problem. But yeah, I mean, like, it's 3 more songs, and realistically we could probably do them without the desk. Like, we want it, because there is, like, all the songs have a general feel to them that I feel like we've gotten through the console. Like, everything has stayed parked. I haven't touched a knob on the console since we got it all set. Stuff sounds good. 3 more fairly, not delicate songs, but I guess not as big to do. So I was actually going to end up playing bass on because the bass players can be out of town for the weekend. But now we're just stuck at the point where we need to get everybody back in for a day and do it. And then I can start retracting all the guitars.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Boom right along. It's quicker than a year anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, we put a lot of work into that. And it was really starting to sound good and pretty much done, minus, I think, like 2 vocal tracks. And then we're like, screw it. Like, all right, well, at least the new plugins came out of the band fund before we decided to scrap it.
It was exciting to watch those guys spend money before they earned it.
Oh, yeah.
Once they got all excited about this project.
Oh, yeah. I got a nice tape machine plug-in. It was good stuff.
That was a good story. Hey, we got money coming in from the gig this weekend, right? Yeah.
We really need this to make the project happen.
Do you think we can get it? Yeah, sure. Good. Here's the receipt.
That's what happened too. It was more of a, oh man, it's only on sale for this weekend, Friday at 4:00. Do you think we could get this? Heard back 4 hours later. Sweet. Just give me the money on Sunday. We got it. It does sound good, though, other than the fact that it sucks. The Slate tape machine sucks PCU or CPU like it's nobody's business. Like, every instance, 10% gone. 10%. Wow. Yeah. Like, it is wildly inefficient. Like, I used to just throw it on stereo bus. I was like, oh, it'd sound cool if we did, like, a bass and drums group and then put another one on the whole vocal bus and another one on guitar bus. Like, I can't run EQs on anything anymore.
If you know where you want it set, why don't you just print it?
Oh, I'm sure I will eventually. Yeah, I'm not that dumb. Amanda called me an idiot savant earlier.
Was it audio related?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I'm not sure exactly how to take that, but that happened. But yeah, the Slate virtual tape machines sound great. And usually I'll just throw it on the stereo bus before I print out a rough mix or something like that. But I had it running, got up to almost 80% CPU usage. Clicked everything off, all the VTMs, back down to 23. Like, damn, wow, that's a lot.
So another nice thing about Reaper is I don't know how many plugins I had open. My Christmas movie, the audio or the band part that I was mixing down was like 56 tracks wide.
Yep.
And there was a lot of work to do because it was a live performance, live on stage. There was a lot of bleed to take care of, a lot of dynamics that needed taming. And yeah, I don't know. I think I had 56 channels, 123 plugin instances, and I was using like 6% CPU.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. Like, if you use like the dedicated ins, like if I used all the Ditch Designer Avid plugins that come with it and stuff like you're using pretty much, that's like that takes up no space. I can run those things all day long. Run 5 on a channel, and until I run out of channels, probably be okay. It's all the outboard, or not the out. I wish it was outboard. All the third-party stuff, which I think Slate said they're moving a couple of their products to the AAX format, which will be nice because it uses less CPU, and Avid's a dick, and they're changing. Can we complain about that? Can I complain about that for a while?
Yeah, I guess it's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
There was a great interview on Pensado's Place about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great idea unless you spent tens of thousands of dollars on RTOS plugins or have tens of thousands of dollars worth of RTOS plugins. Pro Tools 11 is, not RTOS capable anymore. They just got rid of the format. They're like, no, we don't really like doing that anymore. So I bought 10, which supports both, which I'm going to be sticking at for a while because realistically, I don't need anything bigger than 32-bit. Like 24-bit, I don't think I've ever gone above, ever.
Me neither. Once in a while.
I've never had a reason to. There's nothing that I've done has required it. I haven't felt like I've lost any sonic landscape to not being able to run anything more than 32-bit. But I was, real excited because, oh man, in Pro Tools 11 you can bounce offline, and there's a new audio engine that doesn't crash all the time and all that stuff. And I looked, it's like, oh man, I would have to go back to just the Pro Tools plugins.
You have to steal all those plugins all over again.
I didn't steal, I was gifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like all the stuff that I use on everything, like even the plugins that I have legitimately paid for don't work on it. And there are no upgrades for it yet.
Well, it's coming.
Eventually, right. But there's no, until that happens, until they all come, there's no reason for me to upgrade.
Yeah. AAX is a good deal, though, for people that write plugins. It's going to be some work to get stuff set up in the new programming environment. But the purpose behind this, if you haven't heard yet, is within a single SDK, like software development environment, kit, I guess, if I'm going to pronounce the acronym correctly. It used to be, it was one procedure to write a plugin for RTAS and another one to write it for TDM and another one to write it for native. And, depending on what if it's going to go to a system that uses DSP cards or a system that's using the computer's internal processing, it was different programming languages required. Well, AAX gets it so you can just write the program once in one format and
the computer interprets.
Yeah, it'll sort everything out.
I think it's AAX and AAX DSP. I think are the two.
Right.
Or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, there'll still be a difference. Like RTAS and TDM, it still recognizes a difference between using the computer's CPU and using a DSP card. Isn't there, what kind of plugins does all the Avid Live stuff, like the venues use?
I think it's just Venue series. It might be Venue HD now or something like that.
I wonder how those plugin formats are going to adapt into that too, because you need tape plugins when you're mixing live.
Yeah, that's how magic happens. Damn it. Yeah, but it was a little upsetting at first, and then eventually, people will change over. But when you think about all the studios, like I don't know a studio around here that's upgraded to 10, but I think one that's on 9, and everybody else is still on 8.
Yeah.
So you think about all the stuff that everybody has to, people that have invested literally tens of thousands of dollars in plugins and gear and all this stuff, and they just they couldn't use it anymore. Like this is, $20,000 to $30,000 worth of upgrades that you would need to make, because as the soul-sucking, lifeless entities that plugin companies are, like Waveson can be like, oh yeah, here, sure, have this for free. Do that. No.
Right.
They don't do that.
Well, but what happens is you move through software.
Right.
You keep building backwards compatibility. Like you're trying to go and, create the brave new world as you write new versions of stuff, but it all has to be compatible with the old stuff. And so
right. You can only do it for so long.
The code that was written ages ago in a completely different computing environment.
I feel like I'm the same guy that's complaining about having to use unleaded gas in his car now. Like 20 years from now.
Were you alive when they outlawed leaded gas?
I don't know if I was alive when they had leaded gas.
That's what I was going to say. It was still on the pumps when I was a kid, but not for real long. Definitely by the time you came along.
Yeah, but
that's the case everywhere. I mean, you look at the advent of audio, like even on the live side, it used to be, if you needed to do live, you had to have a sofa-sized console, and
right.
If you didn't have 26 rack spaces at front of house and huge boxes that you need a forklift to stack, and and all this big stuff, and you weren't shit, and now it's all self-powered boxes and steerable arrays, and
pack the back of Brandon's HHR, and
yeah, you can fit 10,000 watt sound system in a minivan. Maybe even something smaller than that.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a big investment, and yeah, you just got to suck it up and go forward. And on the studio side, you look at tape. All right, we came out with tape. You're going to go from cutting lacquer direct to disc. Now we're going to get taped. You got tape, and then we're going to 4-track. Well, you can link 2 of them together and get 8. Oh, now they make an 8-track machine. You can link 2 of those together. Oh, but now they make a 16-track machine. Hey, 24-track tape machines came out. Eventually, they figured out how to sync those up, so on and so forth. Well, and ADATs come along. So, all right, park the Studer, get the ADATs. Buy ADATs for this room. Buy ADATs for that room. Buy extra ADATs because ADATs break. Service them. Buy the new ADATs when they come out. On and on and on and on. Like,
do we want to get into ADAT tapes? We talked about that at lunch for a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and mini disc tracking and oh god,
mini disc. Don't even get me started. Those were somewhat handy for the stuff I was doing. I was doing sound effects for theater productions. Mini discs were a lifesaver on that, because the first shows I did were on 1/4-inch tape, 2-track and 4-track. Which was fantastic experience, but boy, was it a pain. What a kick in the shorts that was. Learning that from scratch, and all the stuff that goes with it, all the cleaning and the procedures and the aligning and the biasing.
You better bring a gallon of rubbing alcohol with you.
Yeah. Oh, we used Everclear. We used grain alcohol, because I went to school in New York, but we were literally kissing the border of Connecticut. It's like you could take a stroll, and the liquor store was right there off the access road. So you could ride your skateboard into Connecticut and get a handle of Everclear and bring it back.
It was cheaper than buying rubbing alcohol.
And apparently everybody
City.
used to make the excuse, like, oh yeah, it's for cleaning the tape machines, but they sold thousands of gallons of that to make ghetto juice for the parties. But no, we actually had some legitimately in the studios for cleaning.
We call it jungle juice.
Cleaning the jungle. Yeah, that's what they call it. Jungle juice.
Jungle juice.
We never touched the stuff my own self.
There's one party we got a Coleman 40 cooler and just poured a bunch of that, and then a bunch of gin, and then a bunch of vodka, and I just threw a bunch of fruit and Hawaiian punch in it, and going for days.
Oh, you went classy. Ours was like Kool-Aid with a gallon of Everclear in it. That's why I never touched it.
I don't know why Hawaiian Punch is classier than Kool-Aid, but somebody doesn't scream, oh yeah.
Well, yeah, that and like...
Well, really what it was so you could dig out the fruit after it had been soaking in there for 2 days and just munch on that. And
good times.
Yeah.
All right. Where do we leave off? What are we talking about? Might be time to wrap it up early again. I don't know.
That's okay. It's 1:30 in the morning. You hit a deer. We both have to be at work in the morning.
Yeah. All right. You know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about actually getting an email address for the blog. You know, SNR at, well, I probably can't get that anymore, but like SNR blog at Gmail or something. Let us know if you think that's a good idea. Or maybe you can't, because people seem to have a hard time reaching out, like, oh, I'll have to find them on Facebook, and then I'll have to like them, and yada, yada, you know, all that stuff. Although, please, by all means, do. Like, we would love it if that page turned into another spot to share info and stuff.
Yep.
Although the next best thing would be just get on Reddit and start getting busy there. Reddit.com/r/livesound and r/audio engineering are two of the nicest audio forums I've ever been in. Been in some good ones, like the Gear Sluts ones are great. Pro Sound Web. Dave Rat has some great forums on his site. There's another one called Control Booth that's kind of aimed at the theater crowd, the younger theater crowd, like the kids learning it. But there's also some pros that hang out in that one if that's your thing. But yeah, these two forums, there's something about, like, so many times I've seen stuff that could have easily turned into a, you know, your mama jokes and a flame war, and 2 posts later they're like, oh yeah, actually, guys are starting to see eye to eye, or at least agreeing to disagree. So yeah, cool place to hang out, and yeah, maybe we'll get an email address just for the blog so you can send in your questions, because lately we only hear from Ica.
Sounds like the last year.
Yeah, we were getting. Actually, one of the cats that used to email me a fair amount that I met on Reddit, actually, when I first got on, he just friended us on Facebook. So, anyway, do want to say an additional thanks to everybody. The attendance, the readership of the blog has been up. The podcast is sort of slowly gaining ground. And despite the fact of being accused of putting on a poor show, we're...
oh, it is.
Yeah, we make no bones about it. We're not here to have the last word on anything. It's just a couple of guys talking about audio. But yeah, I was taking a look at the stats a little bit this week. Went and cleaned up the YouTube page a little bit, and was looking to see how many people had watched and listened, because we put it up on YouTube every week, and you can check out an MP3 file. You can save it or stream it. Shortly after we got started, actually just about this time last year, after we had been doing it a couple of months, we were getting, on a good week, 20 listens.
Yeah.
And now that 20 listens would be a slow week. So we've been hitting like the 30 to 40 mark week after week, which frankly boggles my mind. With the amount of people, the amount of home recording blogs and amateur recording blogs, there's not a ton of stuff going on there about live sound, but there's still plenty out there. The fact that people would tune in on our stuff and listen to it and keep coming back, and the blog, like, just here, we had one post really take off, something we shared on Reddit, and guys came in and got some great discussion going about it. Ever since then, we were only averaging about 2,000 hits, 2,000 views a month, and it's been over 4,000 for the last 3 months, basically since the new year rolled over here. So thanks, and we appreciate all you guys stopping by. We're glad that what we have interests you, and we're not an organization. We're not. No money is spent or earned in the making of this blog, and no animals were harmed. Well, much. Actually, where is Bones?
He's over there. He's
Studio
asleep.
cat. Oh, there he is. Okay. But yeah, this is just something we do. This is something we do for fun, and it's maybe a little weird that we do audio all day long and then we do more audio for fun. But that's kind of the sickness that pro audio is.
Yeah. It is a disease.
And we can't afford a real hobby, but we already have all this audio stuff, so we may as well play around with it some more. Oh, I remember. All right. So anyway, hey, check it out. I already did all my wrap-up stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So we're good. So now we can talk about kits. That's the last thing I was going to bring up.
Kits. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, for a little background on that, I've always been kind of an electronics geek, although not enough to actually get stuff built much, just because there's a little more science in it than I've had time to actually study up. I'm completely self-taught. Got into ham radio, learned about amplifiers and things. So I have maybe more knowledge than your average bear walking around on the street. And so Anthony and I are forever talking about stuff like, yeah, we're gonna build a tube pre, or we're gonna build a tube compressor. Yeah, someday. Mm-hmm. Well, we had all these Hammond organ parts falling out. I look at them every time I'm here. There's a power supply and the two output boards
There's
from a Hammond
reverb tank over there somewhere too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the reverb tank. And we keep talking about what we're gonna do about those things, but the thing that seems to be catching traction now is Anth really wants to get a hold of an 1176 kit. And what's the Neve stuff you're looking at?
Any of it. I was really disappointed. Like, what is it? It's Sound Pure Studios, I think. And they've got a YouTube channel. I was listening to the Vintech X73Is versus original Neve 1073 pre's. Like, these are top-rated, beat-out Neves in a blind shootout almost every time because they're more consistent. And listening to them, like, it's just not, it's not all there. So, I don't know, like, if Neves stuff is really that touchy, especially if you're going to be rebuilding it and trying to find original parts and all that kind of stuff that's, 40, 50 years old at this point, API is still making the same stuff.
Yeah.
And I really, like, there's not anything that I don't like an API pre-on. Like, I've gotten used to the way they work. I think I'd rather just do that. But, I mean, a couple nicer, warmer pre's would do that. But I think we've got enough, like, 12AX7 tubes just build into a circuit. But the 1176 stuff, there's a site called Hairball Audio.
Good site, kids. Check it out.
And they sell 1176 kits, and you can buy revisions, I think, A through F. Blackface or the blue stripe. You can buy different covers. So the one that I've been lent right now is a black enclosure with a blue stripe on it. So it's got kind of the best of both worlds type of thing. Mm-hmm. To the point where you can, turn the attack off and just drive it for the sound of the 1176, I guess. But for the entire kit, like, if you buy a new one, I think they're like $1,700 or $1,800. Or if you buy the Purple Audio MC77, it's $1,500 or $1,600. But this, you can buy the whole kit from this place, and they've got a link on there to Mauser for the actual parts. All the resistors and all that stuff. Grand total, it's a touch over $400.
Not bad. And we like to solder.
Right, yeah. And, we don't have anything else to do. Right.
The cat's looking at you incredulously.
Like, you lying section. Yeah, but, I mean, for the next time I got an extra $400, I mean, wouldn't be bad to do and then have it around and definitely at least get the experience under my belt of us putting together an 1176.
There's a certain amount of cred that you get, a certain amount of mystique, like even just modding stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like
I modded the knobs on that.
I once put an extra switch on a Furman just cause. Like, what does that switch do? Well, all it does is turn
cigarettes.
It turns that green light on. It doesn't do anything. It just turned a light on. But people will look at my custom Furman in my rack like, interesting.
Supplies 15.1 amps.
Get that extra 0.1 amp out of it when I flip this switch. But seriously though, building kits, I built some kits when I was seriously into ham radio. Built some Morse code stuff, just little stuff, little $15 kit, but buying it, putting it together, that did more to advance my knowledge of electronics and components and circuit design than any of the books I've read, the websites I've scoured. Looking into guitar amps, there's guys that really know this stuff, but they don't really know how to write good articles about it. So it's really still pretty hard to learn. But yeah, I mean, even if you just build little kits or, buying one of those little 200 project, electronics kits from Radio Shack, great experience.
Does Radio Shack still sell kits like that are useful?
You can still get them. I don't know. I don't know if Radio Shack has them, but there's, I don't know, the Exploratorium, or you can actually buy them in museum gift shops.
I know Brandon Capitals built a few guitar pedals and.
Oh yeah, pedal kits are fantastic.
Yeah.
Or buy plans and just build something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's going to be building a tube amp now because he's like, I think I'm finally getting why it all works. Like, I understood before how it worked, but why it works and all that stuff. So he's had it sitting in his house. He's like, I think I'm just going to start working on it.
Well, it does come in handy. You're maybe not going to tear apart something that borks at a gig and like, oh, yes, I see the tone molecules are escaping right here and a dab of solder and we're back up and running. It's not going to do that for you. But, Anth called me up. He had some motion lights that were borked. So I got the covers off and started looking. And knowing what I know about electronics, I could kind of look at the board and like, all right, well, there's the X, the pan controller and the tilt controller and the, whatever controller. And was looking around. Actually, I figured it's probably PWM. Pulse width modulation dimming and not SCR, so same difference. It's a little black chip in there that's borked, but it occurred to me that might have been the difference. So It can help you out for sure. I don't know, it just makes you feel like a rocket scientist when you go like QSC. You can get all their schematics. You can buy any part to anything that they sell, and even some discontinued stuff. And their techs are great if you have a little bit of knowledge. Like if you can call up and you're like, oh, my thing's busted. Like, all right, well, take it to your nearest rep, and they'll ship it to us, and we'll fix it. But you can also call up and be like, yeah, I got an amp not powering on. I checked this and I checked that, and it's not those things. Like, oh, okay, well, get your meter out and test this point and that point and tell me what you got. So you email back and forth a little bit. If you have a scope, throw the scope on it, see what this is doing and that's doing. And so I was just reading through their forums, and there were a lot of them that guys got resolved.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've done that a couple of times, looking at my own stuff. I haven't repaired any of my own amps, but yeah, you pull down the schematic and you get to pouring over the thing, and at first it looks like spaghetti, and then you start to recognize a couple of things, and you look at the block diagram and you figure out, the hip bone's connected to the...
As long as you don't pay attention to the ground circuitry, it's fine. It's the least useful piece of stuff.
The what now?
All the grounding. Just don't pay attention to the ground stuff, and everything else just floats into existence.
It's so late, I'm not even sure what that means now. But... So yeah,
don't ground things. It's bad.
We're gonna build a compressor, and that'll be the feeling of accomplishment you got. Even just building a dorky little thing like solder an LED to a resistor and touch the leads to a battery. You feel like a rocket scientist, and it just goes deeper from there.
And build an 1176, and it just looks cool. Like,
and you don't have to tell anybody that it was a kit.
No. When this guy let me borrow, he's like, I've got two 1176 blue stripes. I was like, you've got what? eBay. $6,500 a piece. How did he get those? I'm like, why is your name embossed on the front of those?
Oh, you got a custom faceplate?
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I used to do that when I was really swinging in the live sound business. Like, a lot of I built foot switches for people mostly, like guys that wanted to run their light show from the stage. I'd build them a foot switch, BNB sound, custom shop on it. But I've gone in, like, knowing how to mod a DI so you can properly sum, so you can plug in a left and a right and have it sum correctly. You just got to solder a couple of resistors in there in the right spot, or add a ground lift to something, or, build a polarity switcher. Lots of stuff you can do with just the most basic knowledge of electronics. So that's definitely a worthwhile pursuit. And here we are, creeping up on an hour mark. So nice. I'm super psyched about that. This is a perfect spot. I've already done the wrap up, so we can just say thanks. And good night. We'll see you next week if we don't hit any large animals and
larger animals that we've already hit.
There's some good sized deer. I would have been eating good if I had managed to knock them out. Anyway. We'll see you next week, kids. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you.